Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is an updated report for smallmouth fishing around the islands, Lake Erie, Ohio. I fished on Friday, the 29th of March, took it off work, supposed to have some good weather. So I had a goal of trying to catch some smallmouth in the morning and then jig for walleye in the afternoon. Launched at Missouri, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. Pretty busy with walleye fishermen. Couple big tournaments in the area. So launched out of Missouri, headed north to Kelly's Island, stopped at the south side for smallmouth, and tried to fish in this whole area. Tried to find some staging fish. Got up there, didn't really pay attention to the water temperature at first, so I started fishing around a little bit, looking on live scope. Saw some sheephead. Saw a couple walleye out here deep. Looked at the water temperature, and the water temp was 39.5 at 2 foot down. So immediately, I kind of picked up the trolling motor, went out here to 22, 23 foot, try to find that edge of the rocks where it meets the sand out here. Scoped around a little bit, didn't see much activity, caught one sheephead. That's about it out there. Then 9:30, 10 o'clock, something like that, shot up to the north side of Kelly's Island. Started fishing in this area right here. And immediately started seeing those smaller blobs that weren't sheephead kind of roaming around in here. The sun did start coming up. The wind kind of calmed down. It was pretty much flat all day, but the wind started really calming down. I got up here, started seeing the smaller blobs, and caught a couple fish, and decided to stay in this whole area the entire time. Now I tried these rocky drop-offs here, but they weren't really sitting on those drop-offs yet, because that water was 39 and a half. And I think by noon it had got up to 40 and a half or 41, something like that. So still pretty cold. So what I did for the next 5 hours was I scoped around out in this whole area right here and found single fish, nothing really grouped up. I fished probably a 200-yard stretch there, 19 to 22 foot, 23 foot, something like that. I didn't really pay attention to the depth. I was kind of like looking at the graph and looking for blobs. But in that 5 or 6 hours, I ended up catching 8 fish. Every fish was over 4 pounds, chocked full of eggs. Fun time catching the fish. But I mean, 6 hours, 8 fish. It's really not. I'd like to see them grouped up a little better than that. But that's your late March, early April report. With the cold weather this week, I haven't been up this week at all, so I don't know what the water temperature did around those areas. Hopefully it warms up this coming week. This is the weekend. Doing this report on the weekend of the 6th. So hopefully that water temperature comes up a degree or two, or maybe 5, maybe. Next week, I see it's supposed to be in the mid 60s next week. So when that water temperature comes up next week, hopefully we can see these fish move up a little bit further. I mean, we're still a little bit of ways from the spawn, but maybe these fish will move up a little further. We can start catching them grouped up and catching more than 8 fish in 6 hours. So, but that's your report. It's pretty slow going, but if I dropped the bait right in front of their face, and I was using an Erie darter 3-inch, if I dropped a bait right in front of their face, they pretty much looked at it or ate it. I think there was only one fish that I casted at that didn't eat the bait. It may not even have been a smallmouth, might have been a walleye or something else. So, But all of those fish, if I dropped it on their head, they swam down and ate it. And all the fish were just off the bottom to where I could see that blob on live scope. I didn't try anywhere else. I tried this south side here, like I said, no go. And I caught all the fish up in this probably around 200-yard stretch in here. 19. I don't know if I caught a fish less than 19 foot. 20 foot, 20 to 23, something like that. Still real rocky. There's some single boulders out here and stuff to look for, but those fish, hopefully they move up by next weekend. This area down here usually gets hot at the end of the month, so I may not even fish back here. I might check it, but I may not even fish until, the beginning of May, something like that, to try to find some fish around this area, depending on if that water temperature comes up. I was super surprised at that water temperature, 39.5. I expected more, especially with the swings we've been having where we have those random 70-degree days like we are next week, really. And if you guys are looking for walleye, I ended up, so after that 6 hours fish, caught 8 fish up here. I went down here to, and this really surprised me, but I don't think those walleye at that date, now this is the 29th of March, I don't think those walleye were really up on those shoals at all. So in the past, in March, I've done really good on Scott Point shoals here, just sitting on top of it, floating around, jigging, spot lock, whatever you want to do. And you can catch your 6 pretty quick. Man, I came over here and there wasn't one freaking boat anywhere in this area. All the trollers were up here on the Canadian line, over here trolling. I didn't see anybody. Normally this is chocked full of charter boats, jigging and stuff, sitting right on top of the reefs. Nothing. I sat there for 30 minutes casting around. I went from one end to the other in shallow water. I didn't catch one fish on top of that reef. So I went over here into this deep water in between Scott Point and this point off of Mouse. I marked a couple fish in here and I was like, okay, maybe they're suspended out here. So, and I went across here. I went up here and went across this point, came back around, and I marked the crap out of some fish right here. And there's a heavy, if you guys don't fish this area very often, there's a super heavy current that comes through here. And I mean, it was just pulling my boat this way. When I would stop the motor, it would just pull my boat like that. And so I think these fish were sitting on the back side of that drop off here, getting out of that current. So what I did was I parked my boat up here, put it on spot lock, and I was casting out here, and it was pulling my jig. I was just using a pearl hair jig, and it was pulling my jig, and I would jig it back to the boat this way, going up this, and I caught 4 and 5 casts, walleye. Took those 4 home, and I was done. So I think they were still sitting there deep. Either they were, I mean, I don't know. They were 22-inch fish. I don't know if they were male or female. They had big bellies on them, but I don't know what they were. So that, if you guys are looking for walleye, I'm sure they might have moved up by now. I mean, it's been a week. So if you guys are looking for walleye, it's a good spot to try. Scott Point gets loaded up. Here in about a week, there'll be 5,000 walleye on top of Scott Point Shoal. So, and you'll see the charter captains and stuff out there. But just a quick and dirty report for you guys. Smallmouth. I know a lot of you guys are interested in smallmouth, so that's my report. Fish that area right there. If you got the same water temp I did, 40 degrees, something like that, fish that area. There's some fish to be had. Like I said, it wasn't hot and heavy, but there's some fish hanging around. And then the walleye, I fished right over here. So, all right, cool. Make sure you guys like and subscribe for more videos. I'll have some on the water videos and some more tutorials coming up this week. So appreciate it. Thanks.